Hello, everybody. My name is W1sh's, and I'm back after a lot of just school stuff. Many of you will understand, just having to deal with a lot of stuff and just naturally being a massive procrastinator. It's a struggle to try and keep everything situated around here. So, I'm back for my little fighting game primer. I hope you all enjoyed the first episode, which was very general, talking about ways to get into the community. Well, games that you might enjoy. Not really a way to get into the community now that I think about it. It's been a while. It's been a long while. All right, but today I've got for you a little crash course for Guilty Gear, which is one of my absolute favorite fighting games that I have ever played. And I've played many fighting games. Plenty of indie ones that are god freaking awful. But Guilty Gear is one of those games where you pick it up, you play it, give it a little bit of time, you're gonna love it. It's an amazing fighting game. And, like, the characters just kind of draw you in, and the music in the game is amazing. The music you're actually hearing in the background right now is the main menu music for the game, or the most recent game at least. And it's just really chill, really nice, but like everything has like guitar in there, and it's so good. So if you're a huge guitar fan or like a huge rock fan, huge metal fan, like the Guilty Gear music is totally for you, and it's predominantly instrumental. Like, there are a few lyrical tracks within the most recent game, but aside from that, there's just a lot of really cool little things that this game has, and I love it, and it's great. Alright, starting off for the Guilty Gear Crash Course is probably the most important thing you have to understand whenever you pick up a new fighting game: the notation. Even when it just comes to understanding certain moves, like just talking to someone who plays the game, it's vital to understand how the notation works. And the notation for Guilty Gear and many other anime fighting games, Soul Calibur uses the same notation, as does BlazBlue, Unist, and a few other fighters. This notation tends to be used with ArcSys games, so Guilty Gear, BlazBlue, Unist, everything like that, and a few others. But it also tends to be used for air dashers or anime fighting games because of language barriers. And so, yeah, it's a very lovely notation called numpad notation. So, numpad notation, as I stated before, is used because there's a language barrier. It's an anime fighting game, so there's a huge following in Japan. This game, if I recall correctly, was at one point the #1 most played game in Japanese arcades, because there is an arcade version of this game, but there is a version on PS4 and on Steam. And the notation is actually very simple to explain. It's just a number pad. Like, you just use the number pad as the directions. So if your control stick is just in the neutral position, meaning that you're not touching it at all, it's 5. Like, that's just regular standing stuff. Crouching is 2. Down back would be 1. Down forward is 3. Back is 4. Forward is 6. Jumping backwards is 7. Jumping just straight upwards is 8. And jumping forward is 9. I think I went over this. No, I don't think I did. Another thing about it, I don't know. It's been too long, like I keep saying. And I'm rambling. Goody. Hey, I love my life. So yeah. Numpad notation is very simple. If someone says, like, For example, to do just do like a standard standing attack, they're talking about an attack you do from the 5 position. Or if they're talking about doing a really quick crouching attack, they're talking about doing it from the 2 position. And the numbers are relative to your control stick if you were first player. So those numbers get kind of swapped when it comes to if you're second player on the right side. So, forward would then be 4, and backward would then be 6, and you reverse it and everything like that for second player. But for first player, it's like a regular number pad. And so now we come to the attack buttons. Guilty Gear is a 5-button fighter. Utilizing... Sorry, pardon me. Some very unique things about what each button can do. So in notation form, the 5 buttons are P, K, S, H, sometimes also called HS, and D. P is punch, so it's just like a really fast punching attack. Some characters have some super, super fast punch attacks. Some characters have slower ones, but they're still relatively fast. Like, it's your main poking tool, essentially, to get your opponent off of you if they're just pressuring you constantly and they leave a gap in their pressure. K is kick. It's slightly better than punch. Tends to get tends to be your main poking tool from slightly farther away than punch, because punch tends to be very short, kick tends to be a little bit longer because the character fully extends their foot. S or slash is a variety of things, really. It can be used for plenty of things, considering that there are 2 variations to standing slash: close slash and far slash. Close slash only comes out when you're in very close proximity to your opponent. Far slash obviously only comes out if you're farther away from your opponent. Close slash tends to be a very fast move and tends to be very good at doing some very strong damage. I know plenty of characters whose slash attacks aren't exactly as fast as their punch attacks, but are still super fast. Like, I believe the fastest attack in Guilty Gear is like frame 4, so it's a little later than a 20th of a second, which is fast. Like, that's friggin' fast. Slash tends to... I believe the fastest one is frame 6, which is a 10th of a second, which is still pretty fast, but, like, not as fast as frame 4. And all fighting games tend to generally run at 60 frames a second. So, if I say a certain frame, divide it by 60, that's how fast the move is in a single second. I will try and calculate it out for you myself, but sometimes I just don't know. So, yeah, I tend to be a huge frame nerd, and I'm very much so known for that within the community around here, at least, because I'm the guy who just always goes, oh yeah, that's like frame whatever. So very knowledgeable when it comes to frame data and just knowledge of characters and like how things work. So far slash tends to be a lot farther than close slash, obviously. It tends to be slightly slower, but does like some pretty good damage and allows you to set up into certain things. For most characters, at least. Heavy slash is your strongest attack. It will do a ton of damage if you hit that thing as your first attack. Like, you open your opponent up with that, and they're taking half their health bar, essentially. Whether it's a standing heavy slash or a crouching heavy slash, and, oh god, there are some dangerous heavy slashes in this game. From a plethora of characters, really. And then finally there is Dust. Dust is formerly a universal mechanic that used to be used by pressing slash and heavy slash. I think that was only in the first game in Guilty Gear X. So every game in Guilty Gear predominantly adds an X every time there's a new part of the story. So there's Guilty Gear, there's Guilty Gear X, there's Guilty Gear XX, or in America it was called X2, and then there's Xrd, which is the most recent iteration, and I think we're about to get X4. We're either getting X4 or another iteration of Xrd. But yeah. So Dust is a universal mechanic, as I was saying before, and what Dust does is, the standing version of Dust is a universal overhead. No matter what, it will always be an overhead. And it tends to lead to auto combos, essentially, where it allows you to, after hitting a Dust attack, either jump or press forward, and you'll dash, and you just get and you can end up doing a really cool combo that doesn't do a ton of damage, but is pretty much guaranteed. So you can use that to your advantage, like if your opponent's at low health, since your opponent will always take a minimum amount of damage. You cannot deal 0 damage in this game. You can't deal 0 damage in any game, really. But how this game system works, Dust can actually be very vital for certain characters, especially if it's used later on in a combo when you can still deal massive damage, because I'm trying to explain this in the simplest way that I can without going too in-depth. Basically, if you use Dust, your moves afterwards, like if Dust is your first attack and it hits, your moves afterwards will do less damage than usual due to something called proration. I won't get into proration this episode, so if you want to learn that badly, Dustloop has a great way of explaining proration. Dustloop is a forum for anime fighting games like Guilty Gear, BlazBlue, Unist, and then it also has the Mizumi Wiki, which has a lot of indie games like Hakupaza, Dengeki Bunko, Fighting Climax, which, yes, it's an anime game, and it uses anime characters from light novels from the Dengeki Bunko magazines if you're an anime nerd. So, yes, you can have Kirito fighting like someone from other Dengeki Bunko magazines. Or light novels, I should say. Sorry. But yeah, Standing Dust is an overhead, and it tends to lead to really good combos. Crouching Dust is a universal low. It will be every character's vital hard knockdown option. And when I say hard knockdown, I mean the opponent falls flat on their face, and you can set up into OTG after that. OTG being off the ground, so you can do, like, setup afterwards. You can try and attack them afterwards off the ground to just for like damage purposes, like if you just want to deal damage. 2D is very useful for that, or Crouching Dust. So there's the reason why you would want to use every button. And then now I have a few little character archetypes, because we like to make sure everything seems pretty good. Like, or no, that's not how I should be phrasing it. Fighting game players like to categorize things. You can tell because we make tier lists of characters, who's good, who's bad, X, Y, which one's better, or what does their playstyle seem like. So I have like a list of archetypes that we tend to use for these characters, but they tend to mishmash into other ones. Like, you'll notice that certain characters could also fit under another archetype that I say instead of the one that I initially put them in. But I put them where they are personally because that's where they work best. So, starting off, we've got Shoto characters, or all-around characters. This is like your Ryu, your Ken, your Akuma, your basic characters that you can learn on the fly, like, really easily. Like, I learned this game off of Kai. And then moved on to another character after that, because I like Kai. He's not who I would like to play competitively, personally. But you can play Kai and just be like, I love this character, I want to keep playing him. And you can do that. So obviously, as you can tell from what I was saying, Kai is a Shoto character. He is your standard Shoto character. He's the one who's just like, oh yeah, justice, liberty, protection, everything like that. Yeah. Very similar to Ryu. Has some very good setups in this game. Very strong character. Jack of all trades, master of none. Not a bad thing in this game. Not gonna lie. He definitely has some very dirty things, like his 5K or his standing kick is a low. Not many characters can say that. I think only one other character can say that. But, like, considering the fact that when he goes to open you up, you have to make sure you're crouching, like, that's pretty powerful in this game. Because he can check you with a 5K and then go immediately into a darn near instant overhead because specials. He has a special that is an overhead. Or he can do overhead into 5K and just do some ridiculous stuff. He's a jack of all trades, but he's got some dirty stuff in this game. He also has Split Shield, which is a special that he has that allows him to power up his projectiles. If you do a heavy version of a projectile within the shield, and yes, I am pronouncing that correctly. It is called a shield, not a seal. It's C-E-I-L, something like that. I don't know. Kai is French, and I don't get French. But yeah, it's shield. And anyone who tells you otherwise is not correct, and you should probably correct them on it because it's shield. Tangents aside, shield is used to power up your projectiles. So if you do a heavy projectile if you do one of Kai's heavy projectiles, it becomes what we in the community call a grinder, because it just does a ton of damage if they don't block it, and if they do block it, they're taking chip damage, and you're setting up into a big combo. And normally they tend to crouch it. They tend to crouch block it, so you can do an overhead for free essentially if they don't see it coming. And it's just a very good option in this game. He's a very good character. Next up we've got Soul Bad Guy. He is literally the main protagonist of this game. Tends to be similar to Ken, kind of uncaring of the world, just like, well, not really similar to Ken, but just kind of uncaring of the world because it doesn't really give a damn much. Granted, if you read through the story, which is a whole mishmash of things, not gonna lie, because there are some very... It's just Japan. The game itself doesn't look like an anime. The story is anime as hell. Like, oh good god, like, there are like so many intercrossing like storylines. It starts to make sense, but then loses interest in starting to make sense and just hardly makes sense. Like, I'm not gonna go into lore in this little thing, but if you do want to know lore, there are plenty of videos online that explain it, or you can just come up to me myself. I tend to be over in the Gamers Guild Lounge over yonder, up above Breakers, and you can literally ask me any lore thing. It's very convoluted, and I don't want to get into it here because I'll just be talking about that for the rest of the show, and I doubt you want to listen to that. Unless you do, in which case, go over to the Breakers little study area over there and talk to me. I will talk for hours about the lore of this game that makes absolutely no sense. It's great. I love it. I don't play for the lore, but it's a decent lore at least. So Soul tends to be very rambunctious, has a lot of little dirty things. He's one of the few characters with a command grab that isn't a main grappling character, and he can use that command grab very powerfully. It can allow him to combo into things. He's got some really ridiculous stuff out of that command grab. He can feint his projectile, meaning that he can fake throwing out a projectile, which is actually pretty useful because it makes your opponent scared for a brief moment, allowing you to open them up. or you can use it to like cancel certain things, allowing you to essentially do some ridiculous stuff out of the feint. Pardon me. And so, yeah, Soul's, like, he's supposed to be a Shoto, but, like, you play him competitively, and he starts off looking like a Shoto, but once he gets his game rolling, oh, no, he's not a Shoto at all. Like, he is very grimy. Like, he'll just open you up with a random powerful attack and just do 3/4 of your health bar in, like, 7 hits. It's great. But that's a lot of characters in this game, honestly. So you'll notice that a lot when I talk about these characters. So the next character after Soul that I would consider to be a Shoto is Chip. Chip is enough. Great character, very, very versatile, has multiple projectiles. He's got a, he gets 3 jumps instead of 2. Every other character gets 2 in this game. And it allows him to be very versatile. He's the, like, standard character that you would notice that just goes, hey, I'm over here. No, I'm over here. Nah, I'm over here now. And just will mix you up constantly, just moving around your area of, like, attack and safely moving around you and just changing the way you move and just messing with you entirely. Now, he's still a Shoto because he does have a DP. He's got projectiles. He's got, like, everything a Shoto has and more. Like, he's basically just a souped up Shoto. The thing is, he doesn't do a lot of damage because he's so fast. He relies more on his speed than he does his power. Now, that's not a bad thing in this game, especially considering he's very much so high tier in many people's regards, including mine. But he's very technical. He's one of the few Shotos that I would recommend as a Shoto that is supremely technical. Because you have to go through a lot of different things, and you have to learn a little special technique that this game has called jump install. I won't go into jump install right now. But yeah, you have to learn that a lot because it allows you to continue certain combos and continue them in ways that you normally wouldn't be able to without jump install. So yeah, he does have a lot of technicality to him, but I still consider him to be a Shoto because he has so many good options. Like, he's just a great character overall, and very hard to deal with, in my opinion. So, now that we have all the Shotos out of the way, we come to set play characters. There are a lot of set play characters. Most characters in this game actually do have some sort of essence of set play because they want to set up into a certain thing to make them stronger. But there are certain characters that are predominantly set play, like their entire game plan is revolved around set play. So the first one I have on here is Raven. Raven is a very weird character. So he's a character. How do I put this lightly? Or no? What's the best way that I can put this? He's a masochist. Yeah, he likes pain. And he has a special called Give It To Me Here. Take that as you will. And it powers him up because he has this little special excitement gauge. Yes, it's literally called an excitement gauge. I wish I was kidding. And if he gets hit while in that stance, like that special, and he can hold that special for as long as he wants, it increases his excitement gauge exponentially, allowing him to power up a ton of his moves, because the more excitement he has, the stronger certain moves he gets. Like, he has a super where, if you don't have excitement at all, it does 1 hit. If you have max excitement, it does 51 hits. Yeah. He's massively set play, and he tries to get you into hard knockdown to set up so many things, and he's probably one of the best characters in the game, in my opinion, and very fun, very simple too. Like, not too many specials. Tends to have a very strong general game plan that everyone can follow, really. And has some very good, like, mix-ups. His air dash, unlike any other character, is actually an attack itself. Basically, he swoops down like a bird and just glides near the ground, and he can hit them, and it's a hitbox. So he can actually start a combo off of his air dash, which is nuts. Like, no other character can say that. Literally no other character. And he's very, very unique. Very, very different. I would actually say he's rather beginner-friendly, considering I have a brother who plays him, but he plays him casually. But, like, he already he's played him a lot, and he loves his game plan, essentially. He also just finds it funny that he's masochist, but I won't get into that. So, my brother is a very, very good Raven for many, many reasons, and, he's just Raven is a force to be reckoned with, especially when his excitement gets filled up. And if his excitement gets filled up, get away, because he's gonna kill you. Like, he's gonna do a ton of damage. And he does gain excitement out of more than just that stance. Now, in Rev 1, it was only through that stance that he could get excitement. But now they've made it so that you get excitement from, like, certain specials. Which is very nice. It allows him to be a lot more versatile, and it allows him to actually get excitement in competitive play, because, like people only use that special, Give It To Me Here, as, like, a mix-up option out of, recovery off of a hard knockdown. Like, if Raven got hard knockdown, he would get up and immediately do Give It To Me Here if the opponent was setting up into something. And that was really the only way you could use it, and get excitement meter, because in neutral it's not that great of a move, because it can still get thrown and he gets immediately removed from the stance, so you don't get any excitement out of that throw. So yeah, he's a very different character, but very easy to learn, surprisingly. You just have to manage your excitement meter a lot. That's really all I have to say on Raven. Next up, we have Answer, one of my secondaries, actually. Answer is very set play heavy because he has these little scrolls that he can set up on the stage, and really the only safe way to do it is off of a hard knockdown. So he has to hard knockdown, so 2D, into these scrolls. And after he sets these up, he can run up and do certain grounded moves that make him become aerial, or he can just jump straight onto one of them, and he latches himself onto them, and can do a certain and can do specific things based on the input you use. And he has some very strong mix-up game because of it, actually. He has very good high-low mix-ups because of it. He has some very good just damage output out of it. He's a very weird character to deal with, because, like, if you know what he's going to do, he's not that difficult to deal with. But if you don't know what's coming next, he's taking the round because he's already figured you out, essentially. Just like his name implies, he has the answer to all your options and will beat them out. And he's a very explosive character when he gets his setup done. If he doesn't get his setup done, he's royally screwed. He is he loses a lot of his options that he gets normally. So now with that, we have Faust. I do not like this character one bit, and do not recommend him to beginners at all. And this reason is because of a lovely little thing he has called randomness. That's right, there's a character with randomization in this game. It's great. I love it. Note the sarcasm, because I hate it. This character has a special called What Could This Be? And it can throw a variety of things, from a donut, to a wrench, to a mini version of Faust that crawls on the ground once it hits the ground, a giant version of that mini Faust, which does the exact same thing but does a decent bit more damage, a chocolate bar, a meteor shower, a giant meteor, or a black hole. There are some other things in there, but I just wanted to note that he can throw a black hole. It's great. Yep, black hole. Why? To be fair, if you don't use that stuff, like, he's not that bad of a character. He has a teleportation attack. He's kind of like Scorpion in that way, because, like, he can mix you up with that teleportation, because basically he walks through a door and can either appear above the opponent, going straight down, which is overhead, behind them, which is a mix-up, or straight in front of them if they're expecting a mix-up. Like, it's very reminiscent of Scorpion's teleport in Mortal Kombat, I will say that outright. He also has just insane range, because he has a giant scalpel that turns into a fish. Faust is weird. I don't recommend him, but if he sets up into What Could This Be, and that What Could This Be is a black hole, prepare to be blocking for the next half hour. That's all I'm gonna say on him. He's a strong character, but you have to have played him for a very, very long time to truly understand how he works. Because if you go into this game going, I'm gonna play Faust, you're not gonna like him at all. You're just gonna go, okay, how do I do this? XXX and XXYYZZ, etc., etc. Like, he's a very difficult character to tangle when you first play the game. Like I said, I recommend Shoto characters like Kai, Soul, Chip. I also recommend Raven. If you want to learn how to do set play, which is very vital in this game. So if you're wanting to be very set play heavy, learn Raven. And then learn another set play character that's slightly more technical if that's who you want to play. But if you also just like Raven, hey, play Raven. But yeah, I don't recommend Faust at all. And he's not a very fun character to deal with just because of the insane size of his normals. And specials for that matter, but it's predominantly his normals. He's also just a very wacky character all around. So if you like wacky, play him after you try out Raven, but like, once you get used to the mechanics of this game, play Faust. Like, don't play Faust if you don't understand the mechanics or anything like that. And I will go into the mechanics later on, either today or next time. But yeah, Faust is he's not a fun character to deal with. Especially when you're first learning the game and you're just like, oh goody, he sent me into hard knockdown. What could this be? Oh goody, it's a meteor shower. Better FD. I'll explain what FD is later. So next up we have Jacko Valentine. Jacko, as the name implies, makes a lot of Halloween puns. But that's just a part of the character. Playstyle-wise, she is setting up houses. She's basically a real-time strategy RPG in a fighting game. Yay! Oh yeah, and while you have those houses, you can do 2-2, I believe it's H. So I want to say it's 2-2-H to set up little things. And then if you press a certain button after that, she can either make the houses explode, recall the houses, and they keep their levels and everything like that, but they regen their health. They regen all their health. And by the way, the houses can level up. Fun. She can make them blow up. She can recall them. I don't remember what the third option is, but the fourth option is really good. The fourth option is, oh hey, guess what? All the houses around me right now are projectile invul, and you can't destroy them even if you get in here. Also, everything outside of here is is Projectile Invul. It will destroy the projectiles around you. It's a big bubble. It's Barrier in Dragon Ball. Fun! Oh, and it's also a massive barrier. So it's like Broly's barrier in Dragon Ball. Fun! Not a fun character to deal with once she sets up that. Although if you do hit her while she has that active, she immediately loses it. So there is some negatives to it. Also, the minions are tend to die in just like 1 to 2 hits. But all of the minions also go away if you hit Jacko. So if Jacko gets all this set play and everything like that, and gets a ton of minions on you, and you just retaliate with a simple punch, all those minions are gone. The houses remain, but all those minions are gone. And you can also still attack the houses, which is an option, and certain characters are very good in the Jacko matchup because they can take out houses quickly. Not every character is good in this regard, but there are quite a few. There are plenty of characters that struggle against Jacko, but there are also plenty of characters that do pretty good against Jacko, even if they just prioritize the houses. But yeah, Jacko, I wouldn't really recommend beginners, but she is a decent character after you learn the mechanics and everything like that. Like, she's not Faust level, where it's just like, play this character after you have played literally everyone else and you don't enjoy anybody. Jacko, I'm just like, if you want to play her. Like, she's really fun. I've played her a bit. She tends to be a tad bit weird and wonky sometimes, but she has Ice Climber wobbles, so if you're a melee player, fun times. I don't know when my voice got that high, but things happen. So the next set play character is Haehyun, Kum Haehyun, K-U-M, not anything else. So, Haehyun is a heavyweight set play character who sets up little balls that he can move around with his, as he's moving, he can also move those balls in any direction he chooses. So if he's going left, the ball will move left with him, but at a slight delay. And then if he goes to move forward, it'll take a moment for the ball to actually realize that he's going forward as well, and that will start moving forward. So you can mix up your opponent as you will with these orbs, which is very good. He's also got a very strong DP. He has some very, very powerful options all around. Just a very slow character and a very weird character because of one thing. And this game is a chain combo game, so you can just tap buttons as you will, and if they cancel into each other, you will get a combo. Haehyun isn't like that. Haehyun is like Street Fighter. Haehyun is a Link character in a chain game. Personally, I don't enjoy this, but if you are a Street Fighter fan, by all means play Haehyun. He will feel very much so like Street Fighter. Haehyun is the reason why we have a lot of Street Fighter character players in Guilty Gear, actually. Although some do tend to stray away from Haehyun and start playing other characters that aren't Link-based once they figure out other things within the game. But yeah, I would definitely recommend Haehyun if you started off fighting games playing Street Fighter and going, okay, I'd like to get into Guilty Gear. Get Haehyun. The one thing I will say is that he is DLC, so you do need to pay extra for him. Pardon me. But yeah, aside from the fact that he's DLC, I would totally recommend him to Street Fighter players. Not really anyone else unless they're planning on going into Street Fighter after Guilty Gear. But hey, to each their own. So next up after Haehyun, there is Bedman. Yes, Bedman. It's a guy asleep in a bed that looks like a terrifying four-legged arachnid. I don't even know how to describe Bedman. He's the way he looks is very, very weird. The lore describes why he's this way. I'm not going to get into it here, obviously, because I don't want to do lore, and I also don't want to spoil lore things. If you do like story modes of things, but yeah. like, he's a very, very weird character. He can do his specials, but then if you do the quarter, if you do 2-1-4 instead of 2-3-6, 2-3-6 being quarter circle forward, 2-1-4 being quarter circle back. So if you do 2-3-6 of a move, you'll notice a little bubble appear on screen. If you do 2-1-4 in the same button, it will repeat what you did, like that move, from where the bubble is. So you can very much so mix up your opponent by going, oh, hey, guess what? I'm going to throw out a overhead special and do a low. And then while you're getting hit with a hard knockdown, I'm going to set up this overhead special again and then hit you with a low so it's unblockable. Congratulations. You've now lost the game. Rinse and repeat, and it's ridiculous once he gets his gameplay started. But he did get nerfed in Rev 2, so not a lot of people have been playing him recently. Because it takes a little while longer for the replayed specials to come out. Because their startup time got reduced. But it's he's a very good character once you get set up. If you can't get set up, you're screwed. He's very glass cannon-y, although he is also considered heavyweight. Or no, he's considered super heavyweight. There are weight classes in this game. So there's light, medium, or there's feather? No. There's light, medium, slightly heavy, heavy, super heavy. That's right. Most characters are considered middleweight. Most of the female characters, actually, now that I think about it, I think all of the female characters are considered lightweight. So, hey, good on them. Certain male characters, like Chip is lightweight. Sol and Kai are midweights. Faust is midweight. Answer is midweight. Raven is lightweight. Jacko is lightweight. Haehyun is heavyweight, as I said before. Bedman is super heavyweight. So he falls really fast. So if you try and get him into an air combo, you need to do specific things to keep him in the air for a little while longer. There is one other character that is super heavyweight like Bedman, and I will get to him very shortly. And I need to speed this up because I've only got 15 more minutes and I'm not even halfway done. Goody. So next up we have Melia, who is a lightweight character that is very set play reliant because she goes to set up like kind of AoE projectiles, essentially, area of effect projectiles. And so she sets up a little ring around herself, and it does like 2 hits, and she can do a full combo out of it because she can still control herself while that thing is setting up, or like while that thing is still in startup. So she tends to be very powerful in that regard. She's got some very tricky movement because she has a command roll. She has some very, very good get off me tools that don't require you to use meter. Wow. Voice crack there. Goody. So she has some decent meterless reversals, but they can be jumped because they're grounded reversals. So if you're expecting the reversal, you can jump over her and just start off by doing like a jumping heavy attack or a jumping slash and doing massive damage to her. So there's that. But she is a very decent character at the very least. She has a ton of tools to allow pressure to still be applied. She's also very pressure reliant. She's set up and pressure reliant. But yeah. So if you like pressure, play her by all means, because she has some amazing pressure in this game. She's probably got she probably is like top 5 when it comes to pressure. So after Melia, we've got Johnny, my main. Oh, I love Johnny. Johnny Sfondi. S-F-O-N-I-D. Or S-F-O-N-D-I. Johnny is a very funny character because he is in Iaido style sword fighter, meaning that he very quickly draws the sword, does an attack, and immediately resheaths it. I'm trying to figure out popular characters who do Iaido style in like American culture. There's like none. But Iaido style is awesome. Like if you can do it in real life, it's so cool. Other Iato style characters within video games, Virgil from Devil May Cry is Iato style. And he's very fun in UMVC 3 at the very least, but I'm not talking about UMVC 3 today. Johnny has a specific stance called Mistfinder stance. This stance is everything for Johnny. He has this stance, a tiny projectile, a DP, and that's it, actually, for specials. Yeah. That's it. Everything revolves around No. He does have another one that revolves around Mistfinder. But it just makes his Mistfinders unblockable. And that's nice. Johnny is very reliant on a resource that he has called coins. He's a gambling man, so he'll flick out coins, and if they hit the opponent, they level up his Mistfinder, speeding up the startup of his Mistfinder and powering up the attack variation after you release the button. He is minorly negative edge. Negative edge being you press and hold a button to hold out an attack, and then when you release it, the attack appears. Or similar stuff to that. A lot of I believe every NetherRealm game has negative edge, but there is the option to turn it off. And I find it weird that there's negative edge in like NetherRealm games, because like you don't expect to like hold out and buffer a teleport attack or something like that, like in NetherRealm games. But I don't know. I'm getting ahead of myself and I'm running out of time. So yeah, Johnny is a very fun character, very supremely technical. I would not recommend playing him initially. Even though everything he does revolves around Mistfinder, he can cancel the stance and do really big damage, because he can also do that stance in the air, because everything revolves around Mistfinder for him outside of the DP. Like, he just has a DP to get out of bad situations, and he doesn't have great defensive options, because the DP, if you don't do it in the air, is just a junction, so he just does a command jump essentially. And then you have to press the same attack button to actually get the kick out if you're not in the air already. But if you already are in the air, it immediately comes out. There's no junction. But yeah, Johnny... Johnny is a very special character because he's an amazing character. Everyone knows how to play against him because they know that he's just trying to set up coins. These coins can deal minimal damage at the very least, but like they allow him to set up into so much more damage later on in the game. And he does have a high version of Mistfinder of the Mistfinder attack, a mid version, and a low version. And if he does the low version in the air, it's a overhead. So he can do one attack, which does make him airborne, go into low Mistfinder stance, release the low attack, and he has darn near an instant overhead. Yeah, he's got some ridiculous stuff when it comes to that sort of thing. But like in regards to actual like gameplay, he's one of the slower characters in the game. He is slightly heavy, so he's not super floaty like the lightweights, but he falls faster than midweights as well. And so yeah, he's a very fun character, and I love playing him because he has so many tools. He's probably got some of the best range in the game because of that Iaito sword style. And he's also just got very fast normals because of it. So yeah, that rounds up our set play. Our set play characters. So next up we have rushdown characters. Our first rushdown character is Sin. Sin. I used to secondary this character. He is super fun. He has a calorie gauge that you have to manage, and he has a special to refill it. But if you try and do any special when the calorie gauge is empty, I believe it adds a whole half second of recovery to the move because he's hungry and he needs to eat. But if he doesn't have like, if he doesn't have his if he has his calorie gauge, like, filled to any sort of extent, he can expend a little bit of it to use a special move. And after that special move, he can cancel into another special move. This isn't possible for any other character in the game. You normally cannot cancel a special into another special. You normally cancel a special... you normally end the special's recovery and link it into a normal, or you do some other sort of thing. Sin breaks that rule and goes, oh, hey, look, I'm going to DP, I'm going to hit you with a low, I'm going to do an overhead afterwards, and then I'm going to hit you with my strongest attack, and he has insane range as well. Like, he used to be one of the best characters in the game. They nerfed him a bit because he had a very, very strong backdash, and they were just like, yeah, no, you can't have that anymore. But very, very good character. Highly recommend him if you want to just beat down your opponents with DP after DP after DP and just do insane things with him. Now that I think about it, you can't do the same move again and again and again. Once you do the move within that chain link, you can't do it again. Now that I think about it, but you can DP into like special low into special overhead. But he's got some really, really insane mix-ups. He's got some amazing tools in his arsenal. He's got some of the best range in the game, as I said before. And probably the biggest amount of damage output in the game as well. Because if he gets in, you're basically dead if he has calories. Like, if he has that calorie meter, like, even just at, like, starting level, he can do half your health bar. On counter hit. Fun. But I love him. Next up we have Jam. Jam is a very, very weird character because she's still set play, but she's also very heavily rushdown. She doesn't have a projectile. She just kind of is the projectile herself. But she can also charge up certain specials that she has, and she can link those specials into each other, but only those specials. Unlike Sin, who can cancel any of his specials into any of his other specials. Jam also tends to have rather stubby normals, but she can get in on you very easily due to she has like an invincible dash or something like that. She has a thing that you have to respect, basically, that allows her to get in on you, and if you don't respect it, you're getting hit with a really big counter hit, essentially. So yeah, she's very fun. I haven't played her enough to really recommend her, but she does seem very simple for the most part, so I guess I would recommend her for beginners, as well as Sin. Next up we have Ramlethal, who has two giant swords that are set to slash and heavy slash respectively, and she can set those swords up after doing certain attacks, and those swords will be controlled by little minions that she has, and one does an overhead attack and one does just a horizontal slash that you can block at any point in time. She also has auto combos. She's the only character with auto combos, but like she has like 20 auto combo inputs, some of which only being low, some of which only being standing. She has none in the air, which I'm okay with. But she uses those she uses the purpose of those auto combos essentially, and she can link those auto combos into each other. She's very, very weird in that regard, but a very powerful character nonetheless, because of the massive damage from the swords and then the auto combos. Like, it makes sense why she's very good. So I wouldn't really recommend her because the auto combo links are a little bit tight. Also, managing the swords while they're away from you is a little bit difficult. So yeah, there you go on that. Next up we have Ino. Ino is very weird because she's rushdown, but she's aerial rushdown. She's like the only character that's aerial rushdown. So her dash is like a float dash. So if she dashes, she can immediately leave the ground, avoiding throws entirely, and then just setting up if you were trying to throw her. And she just has some very good mix-up game as well, and she's very good at getting in on you, and if she gets in on you, you're screwed. Because once that train gets rolling, have fun. But I don't really recommend her for beginners. Like, if that's your sort of playstyle, like if you like really floaty characters and stuff like that, like play, you know, by all means. She's very, very good. I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to try and do very quick descriptions of every character now. So next up we have Baiken. Baiken is, I wish she was better. She has the tools to be a very good character, considering she has like a little parry that she can do, and she can cancel stuff out of that parry. But like the window for that parry is very tight. So, she's got some stuff like that. She has like a shinobi style floor mat attack. So like a ninja style, like where they throw out a floor mat randomly and it makes no sense. But like the character's Japanese, so it kind of does still, but like, you know, it's a very funny trope within fighting games. It's just like, oh, they're a ninja? Give them a floor mat. Okay. What's this floor mat gonna be? A projectile. And how is it gonna work? If they get hit by it, they can get hit full combo. Oh, goody. Fun times. Yeah, she also only has an aerial DP, which is kind of weird to say. She has like a weird command grab that puts the opponent into stagger. I wouldn't recommend her to beginners at all, mostly because of that parry. Most of her really good stuff is out of parry. And that parry is very difficult to like manage when you should use it, when you shouldn't use it, everything like that. So with that, we're done with rushdowns, and now we go to zoners. Zoners I don't recommend at all to beginners because they're just very weird and messy when it comes to like dealing with beginners. So the first zoner is Dizzy. She is the prime suspect of zoning. Everything she does is zoning. She has a little projectile itself that she can use to protect herself. So yeah, you already know that I don't recommend her. Next up we have Elfelt, who is guns. So if you like guns, play Elfelt. Finally we have Venom, who is very weird because he's a part of the Assassin's Guild, but he's also a billiards player. I don't know. He sets up little billiard balls that he can put into the air, and then he attacks with a little pool cue that he swings around, not like a pool cue at all, and the balls can just kind of bounce all over the stage. I don't know. My brother plays them. Yeah. Next up we have Axel, who has like chain sickles. So like it's two sickles attached to a chain, and he can just throw them out and do crazy ranged stuff and be completely safe. And it's not fun to deal with, but if you're playing them, well, I guess you like it. Just a very difficult character to handle if you don't know how to deal with Axel's stuff. But I wouldn't really recommend him to beginners either. We only have one grappler, and that's Potemkin. He is the other super heavy character. He cannot dash, although he does have a command dash. He gets 2 jumps, but he can't air dash. He has plenty of command grabs, and those command grabs deal a ton of damage. He's the main grappling character. He's like Zangief, where it's just like, oh, I get 1 touch on you and you're dead. I don't really recommend him because he's not within the regular style of Guilty Gear, where you're just moving constantly. Potemkin can't do that, so I don't really recommend him to beginners. If you like grapplers, play Potemkin by all means. And that's it for grapplers. Next up, we have powerhouses, or in regards to people who play a lot of anime fighters, we call them ungas because they just bring the pain. There is Slayer, who has a little command dash that he has, and there are 2 different movement options that he has for them, and they're insane. If he does counter hit pile bunker out of his little command dash, be prepared to take a ton of damage. But he's very slow. He's got a teleport dash, unlike any other character. And I don't really recommend him to beginners because he's got a lot of advanced stuff within his arsenal. So next up, we've got Leo, another one of my secondaries. I love him to death. He has to set up into a specific stance called Brynhilder stance. He's German, so everything he has is German. like all of his special names are German, but he is a very, very unique character because if he sets up into Brynhildr stance, you're gonna die. Like, I can very simply do one move that sets him up into Brynhildr, continue on with another, with like Brynhildr attacks, go into a super, hit you with another, hit you with that same normal that sets me up into Brynhildr, hit you with like another Brynhildr attack, do that same super, do the same thing again, but now do his flash kick, which is 2 charge 8, so there's charge in this game as well. And if he does that, you take darn near your entire health bar. And there are variations of that move where it does kill you at full health. Congratulations, you now know powerhouses. And lastly, we've got May. She's tiny, she has a big anchor, and she likes dolphins. I don't know what else to say. Also, she's charged, so I don't really recommend her to beginners because I don't recommend charge at all because you have to understand how long you have to how long you need to charge, which is very difficult to manage. And she's very, very, very powerful, but she's also very weird. And with that, I'm well over my time, but hopefully, even with the very, very quick descriptions of characters, you still like it. I'll try next time to just be a little bit better at managing my time and explaining like the mechanics of the game. So like FD, jump installs, other stuff that I didn't explain yet. I'll also explain to you how characters' health works in this game, because it's very weird. Every character has the same amount of health, but there are certain variables that change how they take damage as the game progresses. So I'll explain that next time. But for now, I'm well past my time. Have a great day, everybody, and fight on. Thieves of the night, they will collect your soul to cash it in for another round.